Folks, I got a video for you here. There's 3 parts to it, all merged into one. There's, I'm going to put links to this first guy. He's got 2 channels, Minutes of Horror and Hours of Horror. And I think it's the second half of that one that you've got to watch this woman. And nobody knows if this is real or not. She's real, I think, but there's a glitch there you got to look at. But the fact that a military intelligence guy was telling her that people are going to kill people soon. And I've already been telling you about this, and so have so many. Now, the last part, which is a completely different person, and I'm going to put a link to his channel because he's been through a lot, and he needs your support if you can give it to him. And I'm going to give him props because this is a really good guy. He calls himself a crazy Puerto Rican, Nephtali 1981, and I'm going to put the link to his channel there. But because I got 3 links I got to get, I'm going to put it up. First, I'm going to put it up private, and then I'm going to get the links on, and then I'm going to make it available. This could take a while, and I'm sorry I didn't get a video out yesterday, but I was busy trying to figure out materials and trying to do away with some of them because I don't want to get what I don't need, but I want to get enough of what I need. And I still probably won't get enough of what I need because if I got everything that was originally on the list, it still wasn't enough. Now, I'm going to be working today, but I'm going to work on this video. As I'm working, I'm going to put this part I'm doing right now on there, and then I'm going to, I got to shrink it and then upload it. And so it's going to take at least a couple hours yet. And then I got a Tyler Wood video that I'm going to put up. And I'm going to also put a little bit of chat on that to begin with. I love you all, folks, with all my heart, and I mean it. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to prepare you. Please get ready, because I'm telling you, within a couple months, things are going to start getting really hairy. And I'm still not too sure about July 4th, because you got them people going down in manholes in New York City and coming up. And there's something going on. I don't know what yet. I can't say because I'm not sure. I have ideas, but I'm not going to say because I'm not sure. I can tell you we're in the tribulation, but I'm not going to tell you timelines. I never do that. I think I'll say like within a couple months or something, this could very well happen, or this will happen, or something like that. But as far as when Christ is coming back, I'm never going to give a date on that. And we just got to get diligent and be ready and repent. We have to. There's no choice. Time is up. I mean, if you're not prepared already, you better pray hard and get close to the Lord, and He'll take care of you. But because you didn't know, that's one thing. But if you knew and you decided not to do it because you're lazy, you have a problem. You have a real problem. Yeah, I met somebody today on a bus. I got paid today, so I went and got some cash. And they wanted to ask me questions about where I'm living, my bunker. I said, it's not really a bunker, and I showed them. Well, that's like a house. Yeah, it is. But who knows if I'm going to stay here or not. I don't even know if I'm going to another country yet or not. I don't even know if they're going to take it yet or not. I mean, this is a whole 80 acres that they've divided off and sold. And you know how data centers are, right? So we'll see how that one turns out. And for those who think they're going to get caught up before the tribulation, well, how's that working for you, folks? Sorry about your bad luck, but that's how it is. And I'm getting to the point to where I'm not really anxious. I grieve for people. I pray for people. But here's the thing. I've been telling people for decades to get ready, and nobody wanted to listen. Well, a few people did, but compared to the people that didn't want to listen or tried to call me names, and you know, it rolls off my back, buddy. It rolls off my back, you know, and you know, because of what I've done, what I know, and what I've accumulated, people are going to be looking for me when they realize, oh, we made a mistake. Folks, get ready. Now watch this, and I'll put links up so that you can go in the description box and you can click on them and you can go watch their channels. And if you want to subscribe to their channels, great. You know, if that's all you want off my channel, fine. I'm good with that, because these people have information that you need to see. And Nephtali, he's on my heart because that guy has been through so much. And I love that guy. And he's a real man of God. He's a real man of God. I have been foolish in my life way more than he has. And if he thinks he's really bad, well, that's a humble heart. That's a humble heart, and that's what you need. If you're not like the little children, as Jesus said, you will not enter the kingdom of God. Well, the little children are ever learning. They don't know too much. They don't think they know enough. They don't think they know everything. If you think you know everything, Lord, please help these people, because guess what? You're in trouble. With that, I'm out.
What is going on here? So it would seem like one other missing scientist has finally been found, or unfortunately, her remains anyway. 53-year-old Melissa Cassius, who works for Los Alamos National Laboratory, a laboratory where a few of these missing scientists had previously worked, had been missing for an entire year. She was reported missing on June 26, 2025, when she never showed up for work. Cassius was not at her home either, but like with almost all these mysterious scientist cases, her belongings were, including her car and cell phone, which had been reset to factory settings. But not just her personal cell phone, but her work cell phone too. The last time she was ever seen again is this photo right here, where she was walking eastbound on State Road 518. In this day and age, with all these cameras everywhere, heavy surveillance, it's just very weird how there's very limited videos and photos of any of these scientists. Well, flash forward to a couple days ago, May 28th, again, they believe they found her remains in a very interesting spot too, in a national forest, where we hear a lot of these very bizarre stories of missing people. Authorities said a hiker found human remains in the McGaffey Ridge in the Carson National Forest. They also said they found a handgun alongside the remains, which is interesting too, because a few of these scientists have also taken handguns with them. Like, for example, General McCaslin, he left behind his cell phone, his car keys, his watch, but he took his handgun. But going back to Cassius, the Office of the Medical Investigator helped to identify her remains, yet as of right now, her cause of death has not been determined. But given how strange and mysterious these national parks and forests are, I mean, they're the main locations of the missing 411, is it possible these other missing scientists are going to be found the same way? And I do feel like that the government and the so-called powers that be are not just going to connect this, but all these missing and deceased scientist cases to UFOs and aliens. I do find it to be very interesting timing. They're finding Melissa Cassius' remains at the same time they're releasing this UFO and alien disclosure. They'll probably say that she has some mysterious burn marks on her body, or something happened to her that they've never seen before. But again, I just feel like this is all playing into that agenda. But in this next news story, another day, another junkyard, another scrapyard, another car plant has been set on fire. And I am sure this is also quote-unquote coincidental timing as well. Now, on my other channel, Seconds of Horror, I had spoken about how over in New Jersey, there's this EMR plant that recycles old car parts. Somebody or somebodies, and I can guess who, continues to light the plant on fire. A couple days ago, it has gotten so bad that there is now talks about shutting the plant down. Well, it has happened again, this time over in Montana, Missoula to be exact. Reading this from 8KPAX News, multiple fire crews from the Missoula area responded to a large fire Sunday afternoon, May 31st, at Axman Recycling, where more than 100 stacked cars burned in the wrecking yard with flames reaching up to 50 feet high. They also say that the initial cause was not clear. Yeah, I'm sure. The firefighter chief was quoted as saying they arrived, and he's talking about the firefighters, to find a large pile of cars on fire. Some cars, anywhere from 3 to 6 stacked high, probably were estimating at least 100 cars, probably more, that were on fire. The chief said the fire involved cars that had not been fully processed by the recycling center, meaning oil, gas, and other flammable liquids were still inside, adding to the intensity of the fire. So here's a partial list of the car plants and junkyards that have been set on fire in just the month of May alone. This does not include New Jersey and some of the other locations as well. But who in their right mind would continue to set fire to junkyards, scrapyards, and plants that have older cars and older car parts? Well, if there was an agenda out there to get everybody into a new 2027 vehicle that is completely controlled by AI to the point that you cannot drive the car until the AI tells you so, then you can easily see who's behind these fires. We can already see the agenda at play here when they're mixing gas stations with ethanol. And if you cannot afford one of these 2027 AI-controlled vehicles, well, the next step is to take public transportation. It's so obvious what's taking place here. This is not a conspiracy theory. All one has to do is just look at the timing.
Right here came by because I'm trying to organize a community protest against a representative who's trying to push in a data center owned by a out-of-state company trying to suck up all our energy. I made a post, I made an event on Facebook trying to organize the community to get together. And what's your badge number? Name and badge number?
I'm Detective Ensign.
And name and badge number?
Sure. SHRP and it's 160.
Okay, yeah.
So
No, I have a First Amendment right to protest, and if I organize a protest on a public road, there's nothing wrong with that. I sent an email to that representative, and I can show you the email. I never made a threat. I told no, this is my house, and I'm going to talk. You guys are on my property trying to intimidate me because I'm organizing a protest against a data center. Then why are you here?
Well, that's if you let me. Okay, so first off, do you want to talk about this?
Talk about what? There's nothing to talk about. I'm organizing a protest, and I'm allowed to do that. It's a First Amendment protected activity.
110%.
Yeah.
The issue is some of the communication, the Facebook posts. I would disagree that there's.
I haven't made a single threat. Tell me what threat I made.
Okay. Well, you know what you posted.
No, give me a quote me. Quote a threat, because I didn't make one. I'm organizing a protest on a public street, demanding a representative.
What about the safety of his children?
Huh?
What about the safety of his children?
Someone else made a comment about the safety of his children.
Did you?
No.
You didn't?
No, what I said if he valued his children's safety, he probably wouldn't be trying to ruin the world that they're being brought up on. And that isn't a threat. That's the fact that I'm watching this man ruin the world around here. And yes, I'm allowed to say that if someone cares about their kids, they shouldn't destroy the community that their kids are being raised in. That's not a threat.
The problem is you didn't say that in the post.
Yes, I did.
You did not.
Pull it up. Pull it up and read it.
Looked at it.
Pull it up and read it.
I've been dealing with this all afternoon.
Cool. Pull it up and read it.
Okay. So that's the concerning part is obviously, yes, you have the right to make an event, you have the right to public protest, everything else, right? But
I never made a threat.
Okay. Well, we disagree, and our state's attorney disagrees. Okay, so you're going to be charged today for a couple of offenses.
Seriously? I'm going to get charged for what?
For stalking and intimidation.
For stalking? When did I ever go to his house?
So we'll explain that to you more. Okay, so you are going to be placed under arrest right now, okay? All right.
Okay,
so
let me
conclude your live stream.
Wow.
We need you to stay here with you.
Again, interesting timing. The police show up to this man's door over, from what this man says, a non-threatening Facebook post, and the police, they can't even fully explain what the threat was in his post that made them show up. Or did they show up because he's promoting a protest against AI, against data centers? Because again, the interesting timing, we're getting news coming out that the FBI now sees any criticism towards AI or these data centers as domestic terror. You, me, or anybody that criticizes this technology will end up in a Fusion Center report that federal agencies and local intelligence hubs are now tracking. This report is also watching how many protests and how many groups are coming together against data centers. So I'm sure they're going against anybody now for the littlest thing that they deem a threat to control the number of these protests that are now popping up against these data centers. This is beyond a Black Mirror Twilight Zone episode. You may be asking yourself then, well, when does free speech apply? But the real question is the United States even the United States anymore? Take a look at this video from Angry Male Vet.
The United States-Israeli Defense Cooperation Initiative. That is Section 224 of the NDAA for 2027 that the House just released on Tuesday. That calls for an almost seamless fusion between U.S. and Israeli military functions on a lot of levels. We already work with them quite closely on missile defense. This would expand that to AI, cyber, directed energy, you name it. There's an article out there, Responsible Statecraft, and I'm going to go ahead and try to put a screenshot of it up here so you can read it. It's really good, and it talks about how in some ways it's going to be even bigger than the 200 billion we have given Israel since 1948, and how it will almost mean U.S. military data becomes Israeli data. And so if you're like me and you do not want to sponsor what that government is trying to accomplish and what that government is doing under Netanyahu, then please contact your senator, please contact your representative, go talk to them in their offices, wherever they are, talk to them at town halls, send letters, phone calls, all of those things. It's 224, Section 224 of the NDAA. It's the National Defense Authorization Act for 2027. Just came out on Tuesday that the Republican Party is trying to push. I don't know if it has Democratic support as well, but this is something I had to find. And I really appreciate Responsible Statecraft putting the article out and letting us know about these things, because this would have flown under the radar. So if you can do anything to just be more aware of it and raise attention, tag your favorite creators and get them to talk about it, please do so. It's not getting the kind of attention that it should. We don't need to integrate even more with the Israeli defense system. We don't. And part of it is they're saying, well, we'll expand facilities that make Israeli goods in certain states. Of course, they're Republican states. And they'll say, like, well, they're bringing jobs. It's a good thing. It's not.
So they're advancing the Section 224 NDAA 2027 that, again, will merge another nation's military with the United States military. So again, the question happens to be, who controls the United States? And if it's not the United States government, then I'm guessing United States amendments no longer apply, or not at least the way they used to anyway. People can and should reach out to their representatives and speak their mind and have their voices heard. They absolutely should. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to change anything one bit.
Israeli bioengineered chocolate is about to hit the markets in the United States. Investors like Cadbury and Mondelez, which obviously owns Oreo, Chips Ahoy, Sour Patch, Philadelphia, even Ritz need to be pointed out. Before we begin that cancel spree, let's talk about the impacts that it has on West African cocoa production and what kind of bioengineered chocolate we're even talking about to begin with. So, Mondelez International has developed milk chocolate bars with cell-based cocoa butter from Israeli startup Celeste Bio, in which the Cadbury owner has been an investor since 2022. Like it says right here, founded in 2022, Celeste Bio pairs ag tech and biotech with computational artificial intelligence, of course, to produce cocoa ingredients via cell culture. It selects different varieties of cocoa beans, extracts their cells, and grows them in a bioreactor with vitamins, minerals, water, and sugar. This then becomes a biomass from which it extracts cocoa butter and powder. Keep in mind, West Africa produces roughly 70% of the world's cocoa, if you didn't know. If large manufacturers ship to lab-grown alternative, millions of smallholder farmers in countries like Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire risk losing their primary source of income. Just to give you an idea of some brands that you might want to, I don't know, just stop buying. Pretty Crazy, right? It's almost like majority of this you probably shouldn't be eating to begin with. But God, if this doesn't sound familiar, I don't really know what does.
That video came from Beauty Merc, and I left chocolate alone for quite some time now, but a lot of people don't know that a lot of these brands, including Oreo, are heavily investing in this lab-grown bioengineered cocoa ingredient. And this Frankenstein sludge will now be going into their products and in other companies' products by 2027.
Google wants to release an army of 32 million mosquitoes to battle other mosquitoes and save lives. But people are worried because the last time this was done, a sort of super mosquito was bred. And people are also wondering, why is a tech company doing this? So, is the panic justified? Well, here's everything you need to know. Google's plan is to mass breed male mosquitoes that are infected with a specific bacteria and release them. Only female mosquitoes bite, meaning they're the only ones that can transmit diseases to humans. The bacteria infected in the male lab mosquitoes essentially...
That video came from the feed ski, and I have to say, I'm very surprised it wasn't 33 million. I'm sure they wanted it to be, but it would probably be a little too obvious. So the excuse can be made that this has helped in the past when it comes to other insects like fruit flies and the screwworm, and that the mosquitoes they're releasing are male mosquitoes, they don't bite. I get all that. But why is Google behind this? A search engine. Yeah, they own other things like YouTube and these massive data centers. They haven't been just a search engine for a long time now, but still, it's like, I get a bad feeling when Bill Gates does this. We don't need another tech giant, again, one with massive data centers in multiple locations, also releasing insects as well.
A whistleblower who attended one of Peter Thiel's Antichrist lectures described what exactly he saw. It's sickening to think of how much power this guy has. Peter Thiel has held a series of private, invitation-only lectures exploring the concept of the Antichrist, including a highly publicized 4-lecture series. He doesn't treat the Antichrist as a mythical creature, he analyzes it through a socio-political and technological lens. He thinks the Antichrist will take the form of a global government system or an ideology that seeks to aggressively regulate and halt technological innovation. In these lectures, he has explicitly framed environmental and anti-technology movements as forces of stagnation that fit this apocalyptic warning. An actor named Duncan Trussell attended one of these private gatherings and recounted what exactly he experienced. According to Trussell, the tech billionaires don't believe the Book of Revelations has to be inevitable. Instead, they view the apocalypse as a project with bugs that can be engineered away using super advanced AI, biotechnology, and space colonization. He implies that these tech billionaires believe they have the power to step in, alter humanity's predetermined theological destiny, and reshape the future. Some of the ways they think they can accomplish this is by merging humanity with machines, achieving immortality, and colonizing the cosmos.
That video came from Uniting Now, and my question happens to be if Peter the Reptile Thiel sees those that are against AI, tech, and possibly these data centers, and I don't mean like against them that you hate all technology, but what these people are clearly doing as workers of the Antichrist or the Antichrist themselves. And does that also mean that Peter Thiel and those like him see AI as some kind of Christ?
The real vision is so psychopathic that it's very hard for people to believe that it's true. And you have to understand the people who are running the planet don't look at you and me as the same species as they. And what they want is they've now created a technological infrastructure where it's much easier and risk-free for them to have a much smaller population. So they would like to see significant depopulation, on a steady basis, which is what they've been doing since the financial coup started in America. They've been steadily lowering life expectancy and steadily lowering fertility. So these are long-term trends. But if you look at what they're doing now with closing down the straits, right, coming into planting season, it looks to me like we may be facing an intentional engineering to engineer massive famine, very significant famine, and energy lockdowns. This time it won't be COVID. It'll be, we can't afford to, we have to preserve gas for national security. So, we've seen these kinds of restrictions now in Thailand, Peru. It's coming on around the world as the straits remain closed. So, they want to reduce population, but what they want with the population that they're managing is they want to delegate the governance structure to an AI infrastructure like a social credit system that can do surveillance and institute spatial control and financial control at very, a one-by-one level. And that's why you need all these massive data centers and extraordinary satellites and surveillance systems.
I saw this video clip off Barry Stepp's channel, and it kind of makes me think of all these smart cities that they are creating. How many people can fit inside a smart city? What happens when these smart cities population maxes out? It makes a lot of sense. There's a certain amount of the population they want to cull, and whatever's left will go inside these smart cities, and this is where they're going to have complete surveillance, complete control.
Can you imagine texting a dead relative's cell phone for over 4 years because you missed them dearly, only to wake up one morning after 4 years of texting them? You finally get a response. You heard what I said. You finally get a response after 4 years of texting their phone number. And that's exactly what happened to this young lady right here. She texted her dead father's phone for over 4 years, every single day, morning, noon, and night. And one morning she woke up and got a response. Here's a sample of just one of her text messages she sent to her father's phone. Hi, Dad, it's me. Tomorrow's going to be a tough day, again. It's been 4 years since I lost you. And many of you that have lost a loved one probably do the same thing. But after 4 years, she finally got a response. And this is the response that she woke up to 4 years later. Hi, sweetheart. I'm not your father, but I've been getting all of your messages for the past 4 years. I look forward to your morning messages and your nightly updates. My name is Brad, and I lost my daughter in a car wreck in August of 2014, and your messages have kept me alive. Could you just imagine what are the odds of something like that happening? The incredible coincidence between her losing her dad and him losing his daughter is just unbelievable. So I guess my question to you is, if that happened to you and someone actually did respond like that, would you be freaked out? Or would you continue to send messages on a daily and try to connect with that individual?
That video came from the Jody69, and while that does sound like a heartwarming story, I feel like a story like this can be used by these tech giants to support the idea for AI deceased loved ones, something we have seen time and time again. That is why it's important to accept the fact that a loved one has passed away, accept death, rather than trying to resurrect them either through a stranger or even digitally.
Did we just get a backhand? So I think the White House just created a credibility problem. As you probably know, the aliens.gov website is not about UFO disclosure, it's about immigration. Here's the problem with that. Think about this. For years, the UAP topic has been moving into mainstream discussion, right? Congressional hearings, military footage being released, credible whistleblowers, serious public discussion and discourse. Then the government launches a website called aliens.gov. Some people think the whole branding thing is funny. Others think it turns a serious topic back into a joke with kind of a backhand with it. So Ross Coldhart just chimed in on this, and he thinks that the president might be getting ill-advised. Check this out.
I don't think the president's being well advised at the moment. It was a puerile effort by somebody in the White House administration to use the aliens.gov website as a way of, one, trying to promote the president's position on stopping illegal immigration, which I think many Americans would applaud. But I think there's been a miscalculation. The president has been badly led by people inside his administration who thought that they would score points by mocking the efforts to become transparent on the subject of non-human intelligence.
I think this might blow up in their face. Let me know what you think.
That video came from Hallucination Hippies, and I think the whole alien.gov website should have been a wake-up call to a lot of people that the government is playing them when it comes to UFOs and quote-unquote aliens.
This is why I'm fixing up all these old cars. As more time goes on, we're going to discover cars like these built between 1995 and 2012 were the best generation of cars ever built. It was before all the planned obsolescence in computers and at the peak of engineering where they were building stuff to truly last and not worried about profits. Where today's generation of cars has been a huge disappointment, and it's only getting worse. From Silverados to F-150s to Jeep Grand Cherokees and even the Rams. These cars are having tons of problems. And what's even worse is they're already phasing out the parts on these cars. This is a 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee. And guess what? The transmission fluid for this thing is on a national back order right now. It's the same fluid that goes in this Eco Diesel Ram, and we barely had enough to get the job done. In fact, we bought all the fluid that the dealership had left in stock because they had no idea when they would get it back in stock. And these Silverados with the 8-speed transmission is kind of the same deal. They need updated fluid to prevent the torque converter clutch from shuttering, and good luck finding it. And when the parts are available, the dealerships know that they're needed, and they turn out to be very expensive. Like an alternator for this Nissan right here is like 800 bucks. And don't even get me started on the transmission on this thing, because that is the biggest ripoff in the industry. And the dealership knows it because they got them stacked up to the ceiling every time you go in the parts department. You see these old Silverados right here, you could pretty much still find good parts for them. And this thing's over 20 years old. Now tell me how you can find good parts for this thing, but not the brand new ones right there. It's being done on purpose because they want you to buy new cars instead of buying stuff to fix your old ones. And thank God for the junkyards in the aftermarket, because that's what's keeping these old cars alive that were truly great. In the next 5 years, this problem's only going to get worse as people slowly realize that the new cars stink and the old ones were truly great. And then that's when people will be banging down my doors to buy the old cars that I'm fixing up. And don't worry, I'm gonna start selling parts too, because somebody's gotta help us in this crazy industry that's going down the toilet. You see, each of these cars, while they are old and they may have some issues, they are still pretty cheap and they are fixable for cheap, which means you can buy parts for them. The parts aren't that expensive and they're pretty simple and easy to fix. And once you do get them fixed, they usually don't break again for a good long while, unlike these new pieces of crap we got sitting around everywhere. It's funny how in the future we thought we would be driving futuristic cars, but it turns out probably be driving the old beaters we always did. And for more reasons to keep your old car, just stay dirty.
That video came from Just Call Me Eddie, and I hope he's paying close attention to what's happening to these scrap yards, these junk yards, and these automobile processing plants. And it's very, very true what he's saying. I'll take any of these older cars any day of the week over any of these new cars. What in the world do we have going on here? So living in another day in a Black Mirror episode, as you saw in the video clip, there will be robotic dogs deployed for security operations at designated FIFA World Cup venues, including the SoFi Stadium. What was once considered man's best friend, they're turning them into a piece of dystopian hell. But anyway, people had quickly called this out as surveillance technology that will be scanning our faces, but luckily for us, the fact checkers have came out once again from the toilets and sewers they reside in to debunk that. Never fear, the fact checkers say. They spoke to the company and the company said the robots do not have any facial recognition capabilities. What they're there for is to assist security personnel with investigating things like suspicious packages or other potentially hazardous materials. As if they would even admit to that. This is why fact checkers are complete nonsense, because all they do is they reach out to the source denies it, and then the fact checker goes, okay, they denied it, so it's debunked. These things have a camera. If it has a camera, it surveils. That's how I feel about it anyway. But going back to the 2026 Economist magazine cover, you can see a man kicking the earth, which looks like a soccer ball, so this represents the World Cup. But inside you can see robotic dogs. But this was literally a Black Mirror episode back in 2017, an episode called Metalhead. A robotic dog just started chasing down people because it went rogue, taking justice into its own hands and taking people out left and right, whether they were innocent or not. But moving on, this is actually not a bad theory.
Guys, they're merging the militaries because they can clearly see that they're not going to be able to get American soldiers to cooperate and open fire on American civilians. But they know who they can get to do it, for sure.
That video came from Izzy Real though, and what she's talking about is this Section 224 of the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, which will basically merge Israel's military with the United States military. Both nations will combine in every area of defense tech, including AI, quantum, autonomous systems, directed energy, cyber, biotech, network integration, and data fusion. This is absolute insanity, craziness. Now, it doesn't say anything about actual boots on the ground, but I wouldn't doubt it one bit. But upon watching her video, I instantly remembered that directive that was signed under Biden, DoD Directive 5240.01, which now allows the military to assist law enforcement in taking force against a civilian. Now, they say they're only allowed to do so under the strictest protocol, which would mean serious threats. But what do they consider to be a serious threat? Because now even talking about a data center or gathering a protest for a data center, even a nonviolent one, will have police showing up to your door because they consider that to be a threat. When people were talking about this directive, they would say things like, no way the military would do something like this, soldiers would outright reject this, they wouldn't follow these orders. But what if the United States military, the United States soldiers, no longer mainly consist of Americans? And even if it's not human boots on the ground, what about things like drones? Which military drones and other defense intelligence assets, and remember, they are combining their defense intelligence assets, can be involved under Department of Defense Directive 5240.01, but only under strict legal constraints and direct approval. But who really knows what that entails given the fact that things are constantly changing? Again, going back to they now consider anybody to be a threat going against these data centers, whether it's violent or not. But let's not beat around the bush. These two nations have been merged a long time ago, if you even want to call it merged. More like the United States has been controlled for quite some time. They are just now, with this National Defense Authorization Act, making this public confirmation. But next, it would seem like another celebrity who had supposedly passed away, when I say supposedly because we're never really told the truth, is now getting resurrected as AI. Last time I spoke about this, I spoke about how Val Kilmer will be starring in an upcoming movie called As Deep as the Grave. Now again, he is deceased, he has never filmed any parts of this movie whatsoever, and yet he'll be starring in it, and he'll be starring in it all thanks to AI, creating a digital avatar of him, even right down to his voice. Creepy enough, the director said whether the family is on board or not, which they came out and said they are on board with this, Val Kilmer signed a contract, so they're going to make sure he's in this movie one way, shape, or form. Well, flash forward a couple months later, it's happening again, this time in the music world, and reading this article from the BBC, a new AI-powered avatar of Black Sabbath singer Ozzy Osbourne could make its first United Kingdom appearance in Birmingham. His wife and son are all for it. They've already seen the test. They say it's hyper-realistic to the point you can see every pore on his face, his beard's coming through, and they say it's that detailed. But it doesn't stop there. Unlike the holograms we have seen before of deceased performers performing, like with Tupac and Michael Jackson, this digital avatar will be actually able to interact with fans, conversing with them and things like that. Sharon and the tech companies behind this say that the avatar could do absolutely everything, even appear in concerts, films, and adverts. But when you hear things like this, you really have to wonder if this also involves some kind of consciousness transhumanism transfer that the likes of Elon Chip That Brain Musk and Sam Alternative Man have really been pushing. Seems like when celebrities sign that contract, they sign it for this life and the next, eerily similar to what Bob Dylan once said.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
But with that being said, let's see what other people are noticing and talking about today.
So it might become illegal to fish and hunt in the state of Oregon. Is that not the craziest thing you've ever heard? But it just got a step closer to becoming reality. They needed 117,000 signatures to be on the ballot. They now have that. Once they're verified, it'll be on the ballot to vote on in November. And we know how this works. When you got a state like Oregon that has a huge population in the city that overrides the rural population, usually that state is dictated by the city's wants and needs. They're not in the country, they're not hunting, but they're going to vote and tell you Oregonians, is that what y'all are called? Oregonians? Sounds about right. That you can't hunt. You can't hunt, you can't fish, you can't raise cattle or any kind of farm animals. You can't even catch a mouse in your house. Can't use rat and mouse traps. Is that not about the dumbest thing you've ever heard?
So let's pause for a second. That video came from Elijah G888. People in the rural part of Oregon are blaming those in the city for the signatures that were needed to now allow the ban on farming, fishing, and hunting to be voted on. And it's very possible these were legit signatures, but how do we know these signatures are legit? Let's say this ban gets voted on, and more than likely it will. Who stands to gain the most from the waters and the farmland? With raising livestock becoming a criminalized act, farmers can no longer make the money. And let's say a giant tech company comes along and says, we're going to go ahead and offer you about $5 million for your farmland that's no longer profitable. More than likely they're going to do so. And now this tech company can turn these lands into a massive data center. Nobody's no longer hunting in the woods. Nobody's fishing in the water, so now that's all for them to use. This is not a conspiracy theory. We have been seeing this exact thing on the news. Over in states like Kentucky, Pennsylvania, farmers have been offered millions upon millions of dollars for their lands by these tech companies, and they've been turning them down left and right. So now they force their hand. They make their profession a criminalized act. They can no longer make the money, raise the livestock. You flash a couple $1,000,000 in front of them, probably not even less, and more than likely they'll take it under the guise of saving the animals. But here's the big joke on the public, because they're actually not saving the animals. Because if this is indeed what they're doing, and I honestly believe they are, these massive data centers, not only in certain locations are they producing such light that is turning night into day, they're producing a lot of smog, they're producing a lot of noise. So they are already damaging the ecosystems around them, especially for nocturnal creatures. And what's already going to happen to all the cows and chickens that were raised on these farms? Are they just going to let them roam free? I don't think so. And given the fact that there is absolutely no mandated sanctuary for the current livestock to go to, makes me believe, again, there's a tech giant that's drooling all over this. Now, again, it wouldn't surprise me if these signatures are also legit and they do come from people from the city, but I wouldn't doubt one bit that there's a bigger player involved here.
And you keep this short, sweet, to the point. You need to sit down, buckle up, and be prepared. I went out to the bar, like, a couple nights ago, and this guy sat next to me. And I'm just making small talk. I live in a tourist town. Lots of people come through. So I'm like, hey, are you from here? Where are you from? Like, what you doing here? Like, do you work? Like, just random stuff. And this guy sits down next to me, and he's older. He's like mid-50s. And we're just in casual conversation. And the topic of what do you do for work comes up. And he says, oh, I'm military intelligence. And I'm like, oh, very cool. So you know the scary stuff. And he said, and this guy was drunk as a skunk, so take everything that he says with a grain of salt. And I do too, but I also know that people have loose lips when they're not sober. And he said, why do you think I'm here? Excuse me, what? He's looking off just like this, and he says, people are going to start killing each other soon. And he said, isn't this the place you would want to be if everything was about to go to hell? I beg your finest pardon, sir? The conversation didn't last long, and he was so sloshed that it was hard to really comprehend anything he said. It sounded like he had a foreign accent of some sort, but at the same time, I couldn't tell. And he was just saying, things are about to get really bad. And this is the place I want to be. This is the best chance of survival. And he said, I pray nothing happens. I pray something stops it and that something happens so that what is about to happen doesn't happen. But he said, this is where you're going to want to be. I'm terrified. But why would he say that? I mean, I know that Thiel is gone. He's gone to Argentina, and I mean, that raises its own alarm bells. But what does somebody in military intelligence know? And he didn't spill any secrets or anything. He just said things are about to be really bad. Take that as you will. I need to keep this short, sweet, to the point. You need to...
Now, I don't know if the guy she had spoken to was really military intelligence no more than she does, but this eerily reminded me of Russ Dizdar and the Black Awakening, how millions of military individuals will be released on the public. Basically, super soldiers who've been through things probably worse than MK Ultra. And not just that, but again, going back to things like Directive 5420.01, it really starts to make sense. That video came from Casey Branson, and side note, are her glasses different shapes? I just noticed that.
Have you ever noticed or thought of something strange and you just want to share with the world? Well, here's my crazy conspiracy theory. So 100 years ago, bells were everywhere, right? Church bells, town bells, schools, factory bells, you name it. And people heard them constantly, literally all the time. But in today's world, most of them are silent or they're completely gone. They've been removed. And now, according to this one theory that I stumbled upon, there might be a reason for that, and it might not be what you think. So before you write this off as absolutely crazy, hear me out on this one. Because whether you believe this or not, some of the details are kind of hard to ignore. Now, according to old records, bells weren't just used to tell time. People genuinely believed that they were protected and they were used to protect an entire community, basically. In medieval Europe, church bells were blessed by priests before they were even hung in a tower. People believed that the sound could drive away evil spirits, break curses, protect crops, even stop supernatural entities from entering one's town. And that's not folklore from, one isolated village. These are versions of this belief that appeared all over the world. Different cultures, different languages, different religions, you name it, but yet somehow they all arrived at the same conclusion. And that was that certain sounds affected things that we humans can't see with our own eyes. But here's where the story gets a little bit more strange. Now, some researchers and conspiracy theorists began asking a question, and that is, if bells were so important, why did society stop eventually using them? Now, not completely, but enough that most people rarely hear them anymore. I remember when I was little in the 90s, I would hear them, but as I got older, they started to fade away more and more. Well, then a theory started spreading a little bit more online, and this theory involving something much more darker. Now, according to the claim, there are beings living among us that aren't entirely human, entities capable of appearing human through some kind of projection disguise, like a camouflage, a mask, or like a hologram, basically. And supposedly certain frequencies interfere with their hologram. And the theory claims that large bronze bells produce powerful resonant tones that disrupted whatever was creating the illusion. Now, not enough to expose them permanently, but just enough for a brief moment, like a flicker of a shift, or like a glimpse of something underneath whatever they were hiding. And people claim that during the ringing of certain bells, witnesses would report seeing faces distort for a split second, and eyes were appearing wrong, skin color was changing, features were becoming something entirely else out of this world, and then immediately it would snap back. Now, there's absolutely no evidence that this ever happened, but here's what makes this theory a little bit more interesting to me. The people spreading it point to the fact that ancient civilization seemed obsessed with resonance. Massive bells, gongs, sound chambers, acoustic temples, you name it, they all had it. Structures were designed specifically around certain vibrations, and almost as if they believed that sound could affect reality within itself. And modern science does agree on one thing. Sound is far more powerful than most people even realize. Specific frequencies can alter moods, heart rate, stress levels, brain activity, even heal cancer. There's studies that have been done that it's actually healed cancer. And if we want to take it a little step further, it's very possible that the Great Pyramids were built using a sort of sound vibration technology. So the conspiracy will ask, if someone or if sound can affect the human body and even build giant structures, what else can it affect? And then comes the question that really keeps this theory alive. If bells were only primitive tools for, telling time, why were so many cultures convinced that, they possessed spiritual power? Why bless them? Why build enormous towers around them? Why treat them as sacred objects instead of a simple instrument? And why do so many old legends describe bells as protection against things that weren't supposed to exist in our world? And again, there's no proof of reptilians or any of this. There's no proof of, a holographic disguise. There's no proof that bells ever exposed anything. But the next time that you pass an old church, look up at the bell tower, because for thousands of years, people believed that, that sound protected them from something. And whether that something was evil spirits or hidden entities or simply just fear itself, one question will always remain. What exactly were they so afraid would happen if the bells ever stopped ringing? Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
That great video came from Mikey Grimm 13, and even though bells are known to have some sort of healing property, and a lot of them have been destroyed, it's not just bells, it's also other things too, like for example, incandescent light bulb, which have been well documented to be beneficial for not just your overall health, but just make you emotionally feel better. And well, they ended up being banned and replaced for the much worse LED light bulb. Kind of like how the sun used to make you feel real good, but now it just looks like and feels like a giant white LED light bulb. Let's not forget there's a solar simulator patent.
Google is best known for search engines and smartphones, so you might wonder why the company is proposing to release millions of bioengineered mosquitoes in Florida. It is part of an effort to reduce the spread of dangerous diseases like West Nile virus. 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Eric Glasser explains the science behind this idea and why the tech giant is involved.
Well, it may sound unusual, but Google has filed an application with the EPA seeking approval to release up to 32 million specially treated mosquitoes in Florida and California over the next 2 years. The proposal is part of Google's Debug Initiative, a project launched more than a decade ago to find new ways to control mosquitoes, which spread diseases, making them the deadliest animal on the planet.
Mosquitoes are the #1 cause of death of humans. I mean, why not? We'll help the human race.
The mosquitoes would be bioengineered, infected intentionally with a naturally occurring bacteria called Wolbachia. Scientists say when the sterilized male mosquitoes then mate with wild females, the eggs don't hatch.
That can cause a dip in the population. And I'm sure that the places that are trying this now, that's what they're looking for.
And because only female mosquitoes bite people, experts say the release would not increase the number of biting mosquitoes. So what do folks think about this massive mosquito release?
I think it's interesting. I'm not sure about whether I want it in my backyard because there could be a lot of things that go wrong. When you make a commitment like that, you really can't step back from it. If it's proven to work and it's going to keep them from breeding more, I guess it could work.
Google says it plans to use artificial intelligence and robotic systems to help breed and sort the mosquitoes on a scale large enough to make the strategy effective. Mosquito officials in the Florida Keys say they've already seen success using similar Wolbachia-treated mosquitoes there.
It was promising enough last season that we wanted to look at it some more, and so that's what we're doing this season.
The EPA is now reviewing Google's application with a public comment period open through June 5th. Before regulators decide whether to approve it. No word yet on where or when the mosquito release would occur. In Tampa, Eric Glasser, 10 Tampa Bay News.
Researchers say the latest proposal targets Culex mosquitoes. That's a species known for spreading West Nile virus and St. Louis encephalitis. According to the CDC, West Nile is now the leading mosquito-borne disease here in the U.S.
So I had spoken about this once before on my other channel, Hours of Horror, but I did not know that AI was going to be heavily involved in these mosquitoes. But it is true, if something does indeed go wrong, what are the chances it could be reversed? Possibly it cannot.
America, data centers and your water. So just for a second, I want to talk about data centers and what's going to happen to your water rights. So as you know, data centers are being constructed all over the United States, some of them as big as Manhattan Island. And a lot of people are also aware that they have to use a load of fresh water to cool the servers at data centers. And we also have been hearing that aquifers and groundwater in some areas are starting to run dry. What happens in the United States when you have something that's a necessity for what you're building and a dwindling amount of it? Well, all of a sudden, the forces of supply and demand are shoved into that natural resource. In this case, water. And you guys know what's next. When the demand for the product is very high and the supply is dwindling or going lower, the price goes astronomically through the roof, making something that was nearly free or free before so expensive you can barely even breathe for it. Remember oil, the second most abundant liquid on earth after water? Now it's all of a sudden regulated so tight it's like a dolphin's ass. And the prices are through the roof, right? Well, what do you think is going to happen with water once data centers get a hold of all that? What do you think's going to happen to the cost of that once the supplies start dwindling and the demand increases? This is the United States. It's capitalism. It's Keynesian economics. You know what's going to happen. So I have a feeling you're going to be paying more and more and more for a resource that was virtually free your entire existence. And what will you gain from it? A surveillance state and virtually nothing else. So in my opinion, I believe they will start increasing the cost of water as it becomes more and more regulated. The supplies start to drop, the demands increase, and they will monetize the out of it like an evil villain, all because of data centers.
That video came from Sup America, and yeah, this is exactly why water has become a commodity. No different than, like he said, oil, gold, silver. Now, and those that have the biggest share of this water commodity in the western part of the United States anyway, get to say how the water gets distributed. And if they find that data centers need the water more because they're more important to beat China, like they always say, then that's where the water will go. This feels every bit like the beginning of Mad Max.
Data centers and Satan's quest for digital omnipresence. You know, humanity has always searched for power, knowledge, control. Antichrists have risen, and they've all demonstrated one common trait: to lead humanity in rebellion against the Most High. In the days of the Tower of Babel, humanity was convinced to come together as one. Are we in such a time where humanity has fallen asleep? Humanity celebrating its technological discovery, not understanding that via convenience they're setting up a mark of the beast style of a financial system. And one has to wonder, are data centers the heartbeat of the beast system on Earth?
The hill to the left. Neighbors tried to show me on the ground, but you can see it better from News Chopper 2. The proposed Project Sale data center in Coweta County would be bigger than all the terminals at Hartsfield-Jackson combined.
It's going to put pressure on the county water supply. There's no doubt about it.
Water might not be the first thing you think of when you look at big, hyperscale data centers like this Google facility in Douglas County. But most data centers rely on lots of water to cool the systems.
Nothing uses water or energy the way the data centers do.
Chris Manganello from the Chattahoochee Riverkeeper has been trying to get hard numbers to answer a pretty basic question.
How will the operations of data centers affect a community's water supply?
For one woman's claim posted to Facebook that the water is making some people sick led to her being arrested.
Did you ever expect something like that Facebook post could get you arrested?
Not at all. A Facebook post made by Jennifer Combs, a wife, mother, and citizen journalist, led to her arrest by Trinidad Police Department on May 8th.
Did you have to spend the night in jail?
I did.
What was that like?
Horrifying.
Thank you. New at 6, thousands of dead fish are washing up on the shores of the Chattahoochee River. We have pictures of what the Riverkeeper says is one of the worst fish kills in years. Channel 2's Michael Doudna exclusively hit the river to see the aftermath.
Yeah, guys, all along the Chattahoochee River, these are the sites that we're seeing. A bunch of trash and dead fish. And what the Chattahoochee Riverkeeper is saying is one of the largest fish kills in decades.
As you take a look at data centers, one has to understand that Satan cannot create anything. All he can do is use what's already created and manipulate it. When you take a look at a comparison between a data center and the human brain, one has to marvel at God's creation. And you also have to see the similarities, because a data center uses a lot of water to be able to compute, a lot of water to be able to process, a lot of water to maintain its ability to be able to process knowledge and wisdom and intelligence. And when one looks at the human brain also needs water to function, because if it doesn't have enough water, you overheat, you overexert yourself, you become lethargic, you can't think, you can't process. Isn't it amazing how even in the creation of data centers, Satan has to copy the human brain to such an extent? But look at how the human brain operates. The human brain only needs 20 watts of power, less than a light bulb. A data center, even with all of the power and energy that it uses, it cannot compare to God's creation. Yet we're at a point in time. People have forgotten Psalm 139:14, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. But they have chosen the digital. But they have chosen the manipulation. And they have chosen that which one day will enslave them on earth.
Listen to me. The Great Reset is already underway. They control everything, the information, the food. Don't believe the lies on the screens.
As we continue on this video, I would like to thank our sponsor. A lot of you have always wondered who sponsors these actual videos. Well, I want to thank that sponsor, and his name is Jesus Christ himself. Jesus Christ is the only way, and I am so grateful to him to allow us to be able to spread the gospel, and for sending you here to this channel so that you can help us as well to press that thumbs up button, leave a comment, and share this video. Support non-monetized channels like this one via simply taking a few seconds. And I want you to look at this for a moment. Look at the views on the channel and compare that to the thumbs up, which only takes a few seconds to press, and it's free. And that lets you know the amount of people that actually support videos like this, which are free, doesn't cost you anything, they're non-monetized. Just consider supporting us today. It goes a long way.
This is a YouTube video from a future. Not the future, just a future.
From January, every citizen of England and Wales will have a new social credit score. Government and private companies may use your social credit score to make decisions about you. For example, your score could affect the deposit you're asked to pay when renting a home. It could also give you discounts when you're shopping, put you in the priority queue for a new passport, or help you access some healthcare services more quickly. Your social credit score is based on information that the government already knows: the electoral roll, tax payments, criminal records, property ownership, and travel history. If you want to increase your score, you can choose to share more personal information securely with our certified partner companies. Information like your credit card purchases, communications and health information from your phone, energy use data from your smart meter, and your viewing and listening history from streaming companies. That information helps our carefully selected machine learning systems trust you, your friends, and your family. Plus, you can get fun tips on how to increase your score on the Social Credit app. Your social credit score is also affected by the scores of the people you live, work, and spend time with. Everyone's score is public by default. You can check it on the Social Credit app so you can make informed decisions about your life. You can hide your score, but in some cases, this may cause it to drop. Some things like disruptive actions, hiding your data trail, or making decisions that harm others could lower your score over time. If this happens, you may find it harder to access certain government and private services. So if you have an old housemate, friend, or relative that you don't spend time with anymore, you may want to file a formal notice of disassociation on the Social Credit app. If you're a dual citizen of Scotland or any other European Union nation, then privacy laws mean we can't give you a social credit score. Because of that, your access to some government and private services may be limited. If you're a citizen of Google, Facebook, or another corporation, please refer to their support pages for advice. Social Credit Schools from the Department for Community and Culture, helping us to help you.
Digital Tower of Babel is being built, and Satan is using data centers as the heartbeat of the brain of AI. You know, in the Tower of Babel, humanity had come together as one on earth. They had one way of understanding each other, one speech. And one day, as you read Genesis 11, it gets to a point where when I read Genesis 11:6, and the Lord said, indeed the people are one and they all have one language. And this, what they begin to do, now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. They got to such an extent that God had to step in the equation. I want you to understand that only God is omnipresent. Only God can see all things. Only God. When you look at Psalm 139:7, it says, where can I flee from your presence? You can't. Satan is not omnipresent, but what he's doing with technology is he has deceived the leaders of this world. Look at many of these films. Do you remember Star Trek? Before you saw a tablet in the 2000s, in Star Trek movies, they had tablets, they had Bluetooth, they had Skype, they had Wi-Fi, they had teleportation. Do you remember the Jetsons? The Jetsons, when they had robots, they had robot maids, they had all of these things. Space Odyssey 2001, before you saw Skype in the 2000s, they had it there. Satan sold the leaders of this world a deception of technology, and they bought into it. But now they're finding themselves enslaved in the very system that they bought into, without understanding that all Satan was trying to do was trying to be like God and build a digital omnipresence so that he can see everything you do, track everything you do, control everything you do. It almost sounds like Revelation 13:15-18 was kind of a spot on here. It almost sounds like when it tells you about the image of the beast, it almost sounds like when it tells you that whether you're rich or poor, free or slave, that you will need to have some sort of remark to be able to interact with the system. Amazing how the scriptures knew that one day we would be in a system, in a financial system that you would not be able to partake in if you were not part of such said system. And when you have a deceiver, when you have Satan trying to be like God, what you have is people that are wore out. You know, the thing about this, as Satan is building his omnipresence, is that he begins to wear out the saints. Daniel 7:25. Persecution begins to come. Revelation 12:12. You see, woe unto the inhabitants of the earth. And these things begin to take a toll on you, and they begin to take a toll on you, and you begin to lose your mind. You begin to become anxious. You become worried, because what are you going to do financially when things hit? If it's right now, and sometimes when I go grocery shopping, I say to myself, how can we do this? You don't eat out anymore. You can't do any of that anymore. You have to find a way to be able to finagle and figure things out. As a ministry, we're finding ways constantly of, okay, we can't do Zoom anymore because they charge so much. You can't do StreamYard because it's $50 a month. People get upset at how I edit the videos even. Some will say, I don't like that you're using this clip or that clip or the other clip, not understanding that everything costs money. And the ones that request the most are the ones that do the least. And you find yourself at a point that you're like, how am I going to be able to keep up with all of these things? Sending Bibles, doing the very things that you do as a ministry. But then you think to yourself, isn't God awesome? And I want you to think this about your family as well and your things that you do. Isn't God awesome that he has allowed you to go through what you're going through on earth today? We have to change our mindset. Satan is trying to build something that mimics God. Data centers are mimicking the brain, the human brain. And as you can see, it's faulty. It can't compare. It simply can't compare. But humanity is giving Satan everything it wants via convenience. You saw how when the UK announced digital ID, everyone revolted. What do? They throw it on your phone. So now Samsung is a digital passport. Now Apple can be used as a digital ID. They sell you the convenience, but we're becoming a permission-based society and a way of interacting. And because of so, the pressures are going to grow. And what I'm trying to share with you, when I share these things to relate to you, is because I want you to understand that I'm just like you. I'm a brother just like you. I'm a father just like you. I go through things just like you. But we have to shift our mindset as Satan is building his omnipresence. Because Satan is not omnipresent. He's just going to do what he's got to do to try to be as God, but he is not God. He is defeated. And as you're wore out, and as you're frustrated, and as you're looking at the things in this world and you feel like I go 10 steps forward, 20 steps backwards, you become overwhelmed, you become distraught, but change your mindset. Instead of being frustrated at what you're going through, ask God for thank you and grace to go through it, because this is a lesson to prepare you for when everything actually arrives. Imagine if you or I, whether as a ministry or as a brother or as a father, whatever it is, if you wouldn't go through these lessons and all of a sudden the mark of the beast hits, you would be unprepared. But God is so merciful that he allows you to go through certain things so that when things really get rough, you can say like David did when he fought Goliath, I fought the lion, I can do this. And God, through the trials and difficulties, builds your confidence up, not in you. Oh no, not in you. Not in your own pride. Oh no, not in that. Your confidence up in him. Remembering that you could not even make it if you tried today in 2026. Oh, you may think that your bank account is why you're like it, you're doing right now. You may think it's your FICO score. You may think it's your degrees and your... No. You're making it because of him and only because of him. When you realize that, you'll gain that confidence to understand that when things really hit earth, we'll just continue to make it because of him. I want to pray with you right now. There are many of you that are overwhelmed. As you're watching this, close your eyes right there. I know you're tired. I know you're exhausted. I know some of you are wounded. We're going to take thoughts captive in the name of Jesus through the word of God right now. Heavenly Father, you know the thoughts that are going through our minds. Heavenly Father, as a father myself, you know the worries that I have that go through this mind. I worry about my daughter. I worry about her future. I worry about who she's ever going to marry. I worry about so many different people. I'm constantly thinking about them as a father. There are people watching this that are worried about their wives, their husbands, their kids, their grandfathers, their economy. They've applied for jobs and things aren't coming through. Some are going through addictions. Some are going through depression. Some are going through anxieties that only you know, because you are God and you are really omnipresent. Oh God, you don't need a data center. Oh God, you don't need AI. Oh God, you don't need internet. You don't need Wi-Fi. You don't need water. You don't need anything. You created everything. You are God. You don't need a fiber optic cable. You gave us everlasting life through Jesus Christ, the only way. You are Alpha, you are Omega, you are the first, you are the last, and I pray that brothers and sisters watching this right now leave this video refreshed and renewed, understanding that yes, in this earth we will go through things, but through Jesus Christ, we're going to overcome. We're going to overcome because he has already won.